In 2009, Paramount rebooted the Star Trek franchise with a new set of actors taking on the role of the Enterprise crew, and a new director, J.J. Abrams, Dynamite! Who brought a more action-centric approach to the series. Unlike many fans of the original series, quite frankly, I enjoyed this new rebooted version of a time-honored classic. The Next Generation movies were a mixed bag, with only First Contact being the best of a middling bunch. Deep Space Nine was never going to be made into a movie. Star Trek Voyager was never a strong enough series to transition to the big screen. And Enterprise? Well, the less we say about that, the better. Other Star Trek-related projects failed to get off the ground, and so the franchise was essentially stuck in limbo, with a group of actors who were then too old to carry on as the originals, and spin-off material that wasn't primed for any kind of cinematic storytelling. What you had was a series that had gone stale, and a studio who wanted to utilize it, but had to be shown how. 2009 Star Trek served as an excellent reboot of the series, reintroducing familiar characters and familiar settings with a fresh new look and feel, and while Star Trek Into Darkness was a slightly weaker film, it still boasted an excellent performance by Benedict Cumberbatch as Khan, even though that was one of the worst kept secrets in movies that summer. Now, 7 years later, along with new director Justin Lin from The Fast and the Furious, we have what is the best film in this rebooted series, Star Trek Beyond. When the film opens, we find the crew of the Enterprise 3 years into their 5-year mission of exploring deep space, and the tedium of the journey is starting to wear on its captain. When the Federation outpost Yorktown answers a distress call, the Enterprise undertakes a mission to rescue an alien crew.
The first rule of space travel, kids, is always check out distress beacons. 9 out of 10 times, it's a ship full of dead aliens and a bunch of free shit!
Whoa!
1 out of 10 times, it's a deadly trap, but I'm ready to roll those dice!
They are then ambushed by an alien being named Krall, played by Idris Elba. Krall is searching for a weapon within the Enterprise's archives that he wants to use to destroy the Federation, to push back their presence that's spreading throughout the galaxy. The Enterprise is then destroyed, and the crew is scattered on an alien world. It's there they must fight for survival and find a way to defeat Krall. Co-written by Simon Pegg and Doug Young, the film gives us a different take on the Star Trek franchise. While it still feels very expansive, the action also seems in a sense smaller. The character interaction among the bridge crew as they've become stranded on an alien planet is something we rarely get to see. Each member of the crew gets enough screen time to feel as if you're seeing their part of the story develop without feeling shortchanged. Sophia Boutella as the alien survivalist Jayla, who has been marooned on the planet for some time before the Enterprise's arrival, is a welcome addition and with any luck will be a regular part of the series going forward. Of all the performances, however, it's Carl Urban's McCoy and Simon Pegg's Scotty that are the most compelling of the crew. Both are given just enough screen time not to wear out their welcome, and the pairings of Spock, played by Zachary Quinto, with McCoy, and Jayla with Scotty serve as perfect foils for their personalities. And despite the controversies surrounding Sulu's sexuality and the big reveal that it was meant to be, it's barely worth mentioning. And quite frankly, it feels tacked on. It should be noted, however, that watching this film there was a tinge of sadness, given the recent and untimely death of actor Anton Yelchin. He's paired on screen brilliantly with Chris Pine, who returns as Captain James T. Kirk. But the reality sinks in that this is the last time you're going to see him in this role, and the gravity of that revelation tends to linger over every scene he's in. Idris Elba is excellent as the villain Krall, but at times his dialogue is difficult to understand, something which diminishes his performance slightly. Fast and the Furious director Justin Lin brings a faster pace to the series, and yet doesn't make the action seem so over the top that it becomes ridiculous. The film is always building, and by the time it reaches the third act, the movie sets up its payoff with a plot twist that while you don't see it coming, it's somehow not surprising, and yet at the same time doesn't feel contrived. Unlike many other films these days, Star Trek Beyond actually gets better by the time it reaches its climax, and doesn't just lumber along as it crosses the finish line. One of the more interesting things in the film is we get to see small glimpses of Federation society. However, we still see it in small doses. The Federation outpost Yorktown is a large-scale space station with a living, breathing, self-contained city, in which people are living and working in their day-to-day lives. And even though Yorktown is interesting to see, it does feel like it only exists to provide stakes for what is the eventual conclusion of the film. With a preference for practical effects being all the rage among fans, Star Trek Beyond combines practical effects and CGI in a way where the two don't step on each other's toes and look as well integrated as they did in Star Wars The Force Awakens. Everything from the costume design to the environments looks as if it fits in this universe and doesn't feel out of place. And we can all breathe easy now that the annoying overuse of lens flare is now gone. Star Trek Beyond is by no means a perfect film. It does trip up in a couple of places, and some of the logic behind some of the choices makes suspending disbelief at times difficult, to say the least. Such as a space station the size and scope of Yorktown would be incredibly expensive to build and maintain. Wouldn't it be more effective to have a planetary outpost? Also, it would be nearly impossible to defend, something McCoy points out early in the film. And how could an alien spaceship remain undiscovered by the indigenous population of an inhabited planet? But those are forgiven by the time the action gets rolling and the rest of the film and the cast make up for it. This is easily the best film in this rebooted franchise. Star Trek Beyond gets 4 out of 6 Chewbaccas. That's it for now. See you next time.
Yeah, I know the clock is ticking, but the
meds are gonna kick in. My